You know, one of the most interesting things that comes out in coaching sessions with clients of mine is that basically when we learn to decouple our identity with what we do or the results we get, we become freer. We access new energy. We feel better. We amplify what we're already good at. We're much more cogent and calm and grounded in face of challenges. Now, what does this mean? Firstly, why are we like this? We're socialized to do that. When we grow up in a reward and punishment environment, where we're rewarded to look externally for validation. For example, be a good girl, be a good boy, get good grades. If you get good grades, you'll get into a good school. If you get into a good school, you'll get a good job. If you get a good job, you'll have a good career, blah, blah, blah. So it's hope that actually these social promises exist, and they don't exist anymore, but that's another video. What happens during our socialization is that we then look to grades, to sports, to science, to accolades, to tell us if we're successful, if we're worthy. That's the problem. And what that does is it insinuates that we're not important enough to be considered when we're studying, when we're pursuing a field. It has nothing to do with us. It has to do with succeeding in the world. It has to do with choosing a field that has a lot of jobs. It has to do with things outside of us. And we grow up feeling like, who am I? What am I, minced meat? And this is all subconscious or non-conscious. So we learn this over time. And that's why there are a lot of people, young people, who rebel against the structure of school, the approach of school, because what's actually happening is we're taught to go against our intuition, to go against what's natural for us in order to be good in a system designed for optimization. Now, we're not taught this at school. We're not taught the fact that we're influenced by contexts, that we adapt, and we're trying to do our best in each situation. And over time, who we are and what we do or what we have gets merged. And that becomes a problem more now. Why? Because the external world is more uncertain. When we had schools, colleges, workplaces that were stable, people stayed there, they were high quality, theoretically at least, or more people than not agreed with the same values, then those things worked when we look externally, right? It worked for generations of people. There were problems, but it worked. Now it doesn't work. Why? Because most of our societal structures are in flux, right? Teachers and administrators complain about the education system. The government doesn't seem to be potent because the government is used by politicians in this way or that. Corporations, leaders of corporations are complaining all the time about, lazy people or people who quit without jobs. There's more political strife. There's more uncertainty in terms of climate change, financial, ups and downs that are catastrophic. So our external world is more uncertain. And therefore, when we merge our identities and what we do and what we own, it creates a problem because what we do and what we own could come and go. It could be good, it could be bad. It could be judged as good, it could be judged as bad. Let's take for a simple example, in 2008 economic downturn, a lot of people who were blamed were the Harvard MBAs, right? Harvard was, very prestigious, so everybody really enjoyed the prestige of having a Harvard MBA, and people would flock and go there. And then people were saying, it's the Harvard MBA greed that created this because they get jobs and they create organizations that are more exploitative than not. So suddenly, people who were hanging their identity on an MBA because of the prestige, suddenly find themselves like, oh my God, I want to hide it now. What am I going to do? If I don't have that anchor as a prestige, what do I do? And some people collapse in terms of anxiety, depression. They want to avoid being seen. They want to take their MBA off their LinkedIn and their resume, and they react in shame, really. So this is the reason, this is an example of the reason why now we need to decouple our identity with the things we do. Not to say we don't love what we do, not to say we're not good at what we do and enjoy the benefits, but to say if and when we make mistakes, we're still okay. It's not us, we are wrong, we are bad. It's that the things we do aren't good or didn't work. The things we said didn't work or didn't land well. And so we start to then say, okay, if I'm okay all the time, like I still have my brain, whether the prestige is there or not, I still have my will, I still have my ideas, I still am linked to an ideal bigger than myself. I always have that, and then I can change my behavior, change my mindset, change my approaches, change my collaborators, or work with different people who could help. And so that seems to become a more and more recurring conversation in my coaching world, and an important one. So the goal is to wonder, do I feel what I would call overly connected to my job, to my position, to my title, to my career, to my success? And if some mistake happens, or I don't get a promotion I think I deserved and someone else who actually didn't deserve it got it, all kinds of things happen. What does it mean about me? And I'm inviting you and all my clients to say, when you ask the question, what does it mean about me? You make it an answer that's not CJB, self-critical, judgmental, or blaming. CJB, criticism, judgment, and blame. So when you judge yourself, you have no chance of kind of creating something new. You're stuck in the same mentality. But when you look at yourself and you say, yeah, I'm overly connected to what I do. What could I do to loosen that? How else can I think of myself? How else can I think of errors, failure, mistakes, change, uncertainty, ambiguity? Yeah. Food for thought.